This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell. Joining me today are the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO, Zach Vassar, principal second violin and artistic administrator, Merwin Sue, and the TSO's marketing director, Felicia Canny. We also have a very special guest with us today. That is the principal harp of the TSO, Nancy Lendrum. Welcome, Nancy. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
You are yours, a Toledo
special.
Symphony Lab newbie. Yeah.
Well,
first
here,
time.
I've listened in the car many, many times.
I'm so sorry.
Many times. No, it gets me home from downtown Toledo.
Well, there you go.
Home.
See, demographics right there.
There you have it.
We
Drive
have a
time radio.
loyal listener.
Now we're up to 7.
Now we're up to 7, yes. Not counting us, of course.
Now we're up to 3.
Yeah. So this is our final podcast. This is the final one for the season. This is number 39 since last September.
Lucky 39.
The time has just flown by, don't you think?
I don't know how we're going to have our weeks without it. We're going to have like 12 or 13 just empty, meaningless weeks.
Oh, that's okay. We'll go into repeats. And actually, part of what we're going to do today is we're going to have kind of a retrospective. I asked 3 of you to give me your favorite moments from previous episodes, and so we'll sample some of those. It's fun that Nancy is here because she can sort of lend us a fresh ear listening to these, and you can sort of give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the clips that they've chosen. But I'm going to sprinkle them throughout the episode today because we're here also to talk about summer and summer vacation, although it's not really vacation for a lot of you. I know that you're busy, you're doing things. And Nancy, you have a lot of stuff going on this summer. Zach, you want to take the lead on this as far as TSO summer activities? Give us a little rundown.
Well, orchestras kind of run into the same semester schedule that schools do, but come summertime, the idea is that some may think that we just sit around and don't touch our instruments and we forget about music, but musicians remain very, very busy through the summertime, and this year is no different. We've announced that we're going to be doing a very special 4th of July performance at Promenade Park. Mm-hmm. We will be the soundtrack of Toledo. The concert will be broadcast on the radio. Anybody in a boat or on a rooftop party will be able to hear the orchestra performing along to the fireworks.
Yeah.
So that'd be really exciting for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
And, we'll be at the zoo for our standard season of Music Under the Stars. And we'll be down at the professional building, our headquarters, doing a really neat educational summer series. Everything from flute camps, learning how to play the violin, relearning how to play the violin, great chamber camp for ages 10 and up, and many different offerings there, including music and movement for toddlers. There's also a really great adult class called Music 102. Merwin, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it actually involves 3 of the people who are here. We decided to take inspiration from one of the great cinematic classics, also one of those great cinematic classics that involve classical music, the movie Face Off with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
I'm sorry, are we talking about the same thing?
We totally are. And how we're structuring each of these classes is this sense of a composer face-off.
I thought it was a cage match.
Oh, well, yes, a Nicolas Cage match.
There we have it.
Uh-huh. So we're taking composers and squaring them off one against the other, and we're using that as kind of the entry point to be able to explore a whole bunch of different types of concepts. But for instance, we'll have Brahms facing off against Shostakovich in this entertaining face-off, and we'll talk a lot about the intersections of symphonic and chamber music, the use of secret codes in music, all of these neat things that both Brahms and Shostakovich did, and Nancy is going to be doing Tchaikovsky versus Stravinsky.
Which one are you, Nancy? Are you Tchaikovsky or Stravinsky?
I'm representing Tchaikovsky, but hearing this, I have to completely change my approach.
It's much. First of all, you desperately need to watch Face Off. It's extremely important. There's no way you can do this presentation.
Wait, but
Absolutely
are they supposed to switch faces or what?
Absolutely. It's
really?
Yes.
Like the entire.
It's a real sci-fi.
You're taking this a little far. Yeah. So, Nancy, you haven't been in a studio before. You're doing a lot of eye rolling. You don't realize that this is kind of how it works.
That's the eye roll seat.
Yeah, but you said that you listen to the show. If you listen to the show, then you know.
It usually makes sense.
But see, she listens to it. She listens to it after we've edited it to make sense. But I just want to say something here. This whole idea of the cage match and face-off, that's kind of fun. And it's a great segue into what I talked about earlier. I want to bring back some of our, favorite magic moments. Actually, I have some music to accompany that. Here we go.
Another thing I can't do, whistle.
Oh, that explains so much.
Yeah. Okay, so magic moments. Some of our favorite moments over the past 38 episodes. And we're going to start with the composer and emperor face-off here. This came from our third episode, right? I believe we were talking about Beethoven's Eroica and the whole story about Beethoven dedicating Symphony No. 3 to Napoleon. And
Bob Clemens came in and did that wonderful dramatic piece.
A great skit. Let's listen to it. I told you there'd be harps.
Thank you, Brad.
Bonjour, I am Napoleon, and from now on I shall be your kind and generous leader. Together we shall establish a grand république. We shall rival the wonders of the ancient Rome. Liberté, égalité, fraternité, forever. Yay!
That's where that came from.
No.
I am Beethoven. I admire your democratic values. In fact, I shall dedicate my third symphony in your honor, and even write your name on the front page. B-U-O-N-A-P-A-R-T-E, Bonaparte. Napoleon here. You know what? I changed my mind. I am no longer first consul. I am now first emperor of France. Yay! Gott in Himmel, he is just like all the others. Well, forget it. I shall banish his name from the score forever.
Gott im Himmel.
See, hey, you'd be a good Beethoven as well.
I'm remembering when we recorded that, Bob did all of the Bonaparte first, and then he went back and did all of the Beethoven, and then we merged them back and forth together.
Yeah, now you're giving away all of our secrets.
I just remember
as to
laughing
how we
at the
make
time.
the radio.
Because his Beethoven came out very much like, sprockets.
Dita. Something like that, yeah. And it was okay. It worked fine. I was disappointed that we didn't get Bob back in here this season. I think, maybe in the future sometime we'll bring him back in. We have to find the stories that we want to bring to life.
Classical music is full of stories.
Chock full of stories.
And weird voices.
Yeah.
And weird voices.
What would you think of that, Nancy? Do you remember that? Did you
absolutely.
ever?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Was that a favorite moment for you?
Well,
Are we guessing whose favorite moment?
I love any time Bob is behind the microphone.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you involve him more in the future in some of those concerts. I want to play one more favorite moment, and then we'll move back to pivot back to summer activities because I want to talk with Nancy about what she's got going on this summer. But this one came to us as a favorite from you, Felicia.
Oh no,
one
I
of your
submitted
favorites.
lots.
This is where, I guess at the risk of showing off my own occasional stupidity, I'll go ahead and play this one. This is the one where I thought that I had a certain artist that you had picked, but it was not. It was a knockoff version. Oh, yeah. You remember that? This is where we all had to pick
funny.
like songs. See, there's the harp.
Thank you, Brad. It's romantic.
Okay, Felicia, you're up.
I'm so nervous right now.
You said the beginning of the song was your favorite. Let's see
Do you
if people
remember what
can.
you picked?
There were nights when the wind was so cold.
Is that right?
No.
Isn't that Celine Dion? No.
That is not Celine Dion.
Wait a minute.
Zach identified that song
What did
within
you choose?
seconds.
Celine Dion. It's
Yeah,
all
this is
coming
not
back
her.
to me.
Days when the sun was so
I totally thought it was Celine Dion. All
We'll
right.
have to
Moving on.
Cut that one out.
After 39 episodes, you
It's all coming back to me. Isn't that the one that you said?
Yeah, but that's not the voice.
That's not the right version.
That's not the right version? But
Yeah.
if it said Celine Dion.
Oh, it did. It was
Yeah.
labeled.
If it's written that way, it has to be true.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was on the internet. It has to be true. See, that's why I put the harp in there, so you get an idea when it's,
When it's safe to
old
talk.
us talking and new us
versus
talking.
current us.
It
Yeah.
is a little disorienting in the headphones. That was great, though. It
was kind of fun.
And by the way, I hope that you've now learned to love Celine Dion, and you can listen to that memory and understand how off you were.
I still
I
don't
gave
get
you a
it.
Christmas
yeah.
CD, Brad. Did you listen to it?
Oh, you?
Oh.
I think I have it back in my office still. Yeah.
I mean, I've worn the
Shaking
necktie.
my head.
After 38 episodes, you still can't recognize a great Canadian voice.
One of the thoughts that I had, but I couldn't, I just didn't have the time to figure this out, was to go through and reference every single time that we knocked Canada, throughout the episodes, because it seemed to have been a regular
There's
thing.
a quota. I mean,
Yeah.
ever since you started talking about Blame Canada, I think in 2 adjacent episodes, it took.
My favorite part was when we were talking about
440?
A equals 440. And Merwin's like, no, in Canada it's 440A instead of A440. Nobody is laughing at that except for us. That's okay.
440 is the frequency of A that orchestra's tuned to, theoretically.
It's always funnier when you explain it.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to summer activities now for a few minutes here. Nancy, I know that you've got some stuff going on this summer. You want to tell us all about it?
Oh, well, I'll tell you a few things because I love summertime for the opportunities to learn new music and make music with friends that are out of our everyday lives. And I do a really wonderful camp, as Zach mentioned earlier, that I do in July for my harp students. And it is a multi-generational harp camp experience. This will be the 5th year that I've done this. It's at St. Timothy's Episcopal Church under the St. Tim's Discovers umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the opportunity to have harpists get together and play with one another because we're such a solo instrument. And it's really important for students to learn how to play with other instruments. In this case, it's the harp. But sometimes I bring in other instruments, but this year is just going to be harp, and it's ages 11 to 86.
Wow. I was going to ask the age
All
range. Yeah.
all ages and all levels.
And do they perform then?
We have we meet Monday through Thursday in the afternoons, depending on the level. You come for 2 hours or 4 hours. And then at the end of the week, we have 2 concerts on Friday, July 20th. One is at 4 p.m. and one is at 7 p.m. And we have 2 concerts because we can't get everybody into the church for one. It's a happy problem. So that's what I do locally with my students. And in a couple weeks, I'll be going back to the Curtis Institute of Music, where I will be working with Elizabeth Hainan, a former Toledoan. Her father, Fred Hainan, was a violinist with the Toledo Symphony for a long, long time. And Elizabeth is the principal harpist with the Philadelphia Orchestra, and she started a summer program actually many years ago in Saratoga Springs, but 3 years ago we moved it to Curtis, and my job there is conducting, which is always very humbling, and I love it because it's working with very advanced harpists from this year, China, Europe, and all over the U.S. So I'll be there for a week.
Wow, great.
And then I do a music festival in Alfred, New York.
So you are busy and traveling and doing a lot of stuff.
So much fun.
I want to ask you a question. You have a lot of experience teaching the harp. And when you think of the harp, I'm curious, how do young kids get into playing the harp? Because my own experience, at band, they have us try out instruments.
Sure.
And I went home and, I want to play the clarinet or what have you. But I don't imagine many kids come home and say like, they had harp at, band and I loved it.
Not often. There is a large harp presence in Northwest Ohio. But what I have found are 2 common things that harpists will say is that they feel, I don't know how Merwin would feel about this or other of my colleagues, but we feel that the harp chose us. I really strongly feel that way.
It is a romantic instrument.
Well, yes, it is.
Merwin.
What are you saying?
Yes, it is. We will refer back to that later for moments of your broadcast, which I did not enjoy.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I have forgiven Merwin.
Oh, I want to hear this story.
Okay, I will happily share that story, which was your Valentine's Day program.
Oh, yeah. And I, you know what? I'm the one who put out the harp as like
Yes,
this
you
beautiful romantic music. I'm glad that
It was
you
the
and I
Mozart,
agree,
right?
Nancy.
Mozart, harp and flute, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I will say that might not be the most romantic excerpt that could have been chosen, but I do strongly disagree that the harp is not a romantic instrument.
Which of us suggested such a terrible idea?
My colleague to my right, who would be Merwin,
The gesture actually really plays well on radio.
Yeah.
which is what my husband, who used to do exactly what Brad does, Roger Gravy, said, whatever you do, just make sure you don't give one-word answers or
Or gesture. right,
gesture.
yeah.
I'm gesturing. But I have forgiven Merwin. It is a romantic instrument.
It took a long time.
Yes.
Why did you feel, Merwin, that harp is not a romantic
I
instrument?
think I fixated too much on the flute and harp concerto.
Yeah.
And I fixated too much on the fact that that's kind of more of a family concerto, like kind of written for people.
It was
Yeah,
father-daughter or something
yes,
like that,
and I kind of got a little stuck on that
Yeah.
as opposed to the general instrumental.
You know what
legacy.
is also a romantic instrument is the viola, as we're about to hear in this little clip from Reed Anderson. See, I'm segueing back into
I like it.
Nice
back into
segue.
favorite moments from previous episodes. This was our Nutcracker episode, and Reed called in with his story about the Nutcracker. Let's give it a listen. Doesn't that sound romantic?
Not that. That's a war story unto
Yeah,
itself.
I'm hearing it already.
Hi, my name is Reed Anderson, and I joined the viola section of the Toledo Symphony in 1988. I believe the year was 2004 or 05 when I found myself once again in the pit of the Stranahan Theater playing my viola part in Toledo Ballet's annual performance of Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker. If you have ever looked over the edge of the pit, you'll see there is very little room for the musicians to move, let alone play their instruments. During that year's performance, we were in the middle of the battle scene where the Rat King and his mice minions are fighting the Nutcracker and his toy soldiers. Unbeknownst to me and my stand partner, one of the mice minions twisted the mouse head part of her costume so that she could not see out of the eye holes. Instead of standing still, possibly obstructing the action on the stage, she kept on moving while unable to see and fell into the pit, amazingly missing myself, my stand partner, and the cello section sitting directly behind us.
Wow.
I swear there was no more than a 30-inch opening the mouse could fit through without landing directly on someone's head or instrument or chair or stand. This truly was a miracle, in my humble opinion. Unfortunately for my viola, the mouse costume caught the bridge of my viola and yanked it so violently that the bridge slid sideways, broke all my strings,
Nice.
and anything attached, like the bridge, tailpiece, and pegs. These all went sailing while my bow fell to the floor. I was left, sitting there, holding just my viola.
The rest of the show.
Pluck, 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 pluck.
Sing your part. You gotta sing your part now.
Of course, the performance kept going, while many of the musicians on our side of the pit sat completely stunned. Fortunately, the battle scene occurs just before intermission, so I waited until the music stopped, received help from my colleagues in hunting for my bow and missing pieces, and we all helped each other exit the pit. Obviously, my day was over, yet my viola was basically uninjured, following the unexpected arrival of our mouse friend. Long story short, my viola was fine, outside of a couple scratches. My bow was fine, the mouse was fine, and surprisingly, very few people in the audience saw the actual incident.
I'm glad the mouse was fine.
Now,
Well, I was just
every
going to say,
year
we
when
haven't
get to that
mentioned the
section of
mouse.
Music, my stand partner and I cautiously look up in the air and smile at each other. True story.
True story.
As a side note, the mouse did not survive. But the viola is fine. It's still usable. We have so many mice, though. You know, there's
Which one is it,
tons.
you know?
Yeah,
Which
you
one
know.
could it
Just send to the next one.
Next.
Yeah, next. Next rodent.
That was Michael Lang, who was our guest.
He was so
From
fun to
Toledo
work with
Valley.
in that episode.
Yeah,
I laughed so hard at him.
he was great. Should I play another excerpt?
Well, Nancy, were you in the pit for that performance?
It happened 6 feet in front of me.
Wow.
And I have when it happened, I'm resting for about 14 measures and saw it happening. And we were nobody could do anything. Those of us who could see it happening thought, no, this isn't happening. Yes, it is happening.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
So you can verify that it actually happened.
It is. It absolutely happened.
As Reed said it. Yeah.
What was strange was that, as Reed referred to it, all the strings knew something had happened because we all stopped playing, but the brass and winds on the other side of the pit, everybody just kept going, and we recovered. Poor Reed just sat there, but it was a very strange moment.
With his broken viola.
And a stunned look on his face.
I bet. Wow. Yeah, I picked up another sound effect from that one too. The Wilhelm scream, which is a famous Hollywood scream. You hear that in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
So I figured it had an appropriate place here. Well, the next clip that I have that was a favorite was the one when we had Janet Amid come in, and she ended up doing 2 episodes. The astrologer.
Yeah.
And she did Gustav Holst's chart, she did Richard Strauss's chart, and she did all of our charts, right, where she talked about us. Did you catch that one, Nancy?
No, I did not.
You didn't hear that one? This is, I've had to edit this down quite a bit, but this gets the gist across of what she did with us.
Well, being a Sagittarius, you're not a typical Sag because
She's talking about
you're now
Zach
coming
right now.
into a new direction of your life. It's going to be pretty favorable, but I do see you making some changes this year.
A career change?
Not career, but work-related issues. Like maybe.
Nice knowing you, Zach.
I think this is temporary for you. Felicia, you're born under the sign of Aries, but you're not a typical Aries because your emotional sign is Cancer. The moon sign rules who we are inside our heart. And so the moon is who we are. And because it's in the sign of Cancer, there's a lot of sensitivity with you. And you put a lot of passion into your job. You're good at what you do.
Oh,
you really
thank
are.
you. Did you hear that, Zach?
Merwin, you are born under the sign of Aquarius, which is significant with what you do for a living. You have creative genius. And I'm not just saying that to make you feel, but
That's what I say all the time. Actually,
you have a genius. You have a very old soul vibration to me. And I looked at this and I went, holy moly. I mean, you have capabilities of doing anything, teaching, directing, composing. You have all that in here.
Now wait a minute. I'm sorry, but I thought we were talking about me.
We already figured out you have stomach issues.
Okay,
Merwin's
a genius. Felicia and Zach have amazing
And you
career
have gas.
opportunities,
Okay.
and I have gas. Hey, the more you know. I think she was spot on. What do you think?
Absolutely.
She had us all nailed in that one.
She was a hoot. She was a
Yeah.
hoot to work with.
Nancy's just shaking her head.
Stomach issues?
That could mean anything,
Yes, I think doing these shows probably.
Okay, well, we're down to our final magic moment.
Does this make it
of
the most
season.
magical moment
This
of the
is the
entire
most
season?
magical moment of the entire
What could it
season.
be?
I heard from people after listening to this podcast from all over the country, actually, talking about how funny it was and that they listened to it several times. I actually heard from several different people of different walks of life who thought that this was hilarious. And this is the episode. Felicia already knows what it is.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
This is it's okay. You don't have to say anything because I have you
have no
saying
words.
stuff on here. This is the one that we did about Schubert. Did you hear the episode we did about Schubert, Nancy?
Well, I thought I did, but I'm trying to think. I'll know in a minute.
Well, in the Schubert episode, because Schubert had a habit of pulling out a comb and a tissue paper and kazooing his way through some of his pieces. It was a party trick of his.
Yes.
So we had a challenge where we would have to play the kazoo to finish out a song, right? So it was just like a little kazoo quiz, and here's what happened. Here's an example. Listen to see if you know this one.
I will never be able to respond to any of these.
We'll try it. Try to play it.
Wait.
We're going to start with you, Felicia.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, you ready? This should be pretty easy. Here's your clue. Anticipation. What comes next?
On the kazoo?
On the kazoo, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Just try it. Do you know this song? Okay, you can do it.
This is terrible.
Oh, what are we gonna do? We're gonna have to take a break and come back and finish.
I think I've listened to that a few times. It so kills me every time.
We're just crying in here. I hope this isn't the case of where Zach and I think that it's so funny and everybody else thinks it's not as funny.
It is very cruel.
I just kept thinking, poor Felicia.
I think I need a support group after that traumatic experience.
It was great.
Part of it was the anticipation of the beautiful music that was supposed to come, and then this sort of wispy hiss of a kazoo.
Wispy hiss. That's like a great stage name. Hello.
It's a band, I think.
Yeah, Wispy hiss.
No, that's
kazoo
Aldrin
band.
Hiss. Yeah,
it's a kazoo band, and none of them can play the kazoo.
Oh my gosh! I am sorry, Felicia, for laughing at you for an entire season, but I love that we have that on tape.
That's okay.
Well, I am taking note of who's laughing the hardest, so watch out, people. No, I'm kidding.
Merwin hasn't laughed at all.
He's afraid.
And I clearly don't have a good guilty complex here because I still have tears coming down my face.
I don't have to see you at work every day, so I'm not worried about that. Well, look at the time. That's about all the time that we have, and that's all the time that we have for this season of Toledo Symphony Lab. It's been a lot of fun. I look forward to our next encounter with this program.
When the Malone family came to us with this estate gift from their mother, Barbara Garwood, they challenged us to do something that we hadn't done and probably would not have done, and they wanted it to have something to do with media. And this has been such a treat to explore this, and I don't know that going into this we would have expected it to be as informative and wonderful as it's been. I just want to say thank you. I mean, you've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into hosting and certainly editing this program, but thank you for taking a leap of faith with us to make this happen.
Well, it's been so much fun to do this, and I hope that listeners have enjoyed it as well. We want to let you know that Toledo's Symphony Lab is generously underwritten by a gift from the estate of Barbara Garwood and is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony. You can download episodes of this program as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab or subscribing via Apple Podcasts or Google Play. I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab. You're on FM 91.